We now head back to the United States, to Washington, D.C., and the home of the American presidents, the White House. We discovered the White House is also believed to harbor a curse whose aim is the downfall of American leaders. Our number 2 curse is the presidential death cycle, Washington, D.C. Since 1800, the White House in Washington has been the official home of the American president. In the 1960s, it would become the final address of the 35th President of the United States, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. The Kennedys were one of the most powerful and influential families in America. They were also among the unluckiest.
Joseph Kennedy fathered 4 sons, and 3 of them died violent deaths. The first was Joe Jr., who was killed in World War II. The second was JFK, of course, who was assassinated in 1963. And the third was Robert Kennedy, who was also assassinated in 1968.
There's some speculation that JFK did expect to die in office.
There's a case when, one time, in his car with his private doctor, a small boy pointed a movie camera at him, and he flinched. And he said to her, "I will not live in fear. What will be, must be."
But there is another controversial theory that could explain a president's unease.
There is a theory that presidents who are elected in years that end with 0 will die, and that theory has some backing. JFK's assassination is an example.
This curse has been attributed to a Native American seeking revenge.
Tecumseh, who was a great Indian leader, tried to save his people from the encroachment of the white man into the Ohio Valley. And what happened is they went to war. Tecumseh ended up dying. His brother placed the curse on the presidents.
Tecumseh was killed in battle in 1813. William Henry Harrison was the general leading the government forces. Believers in the curse claim he was the first victim of the hex.
William Henry Harrison was elected in 1840. He gave the longest inaugural address of any president of the United States on a very cold and rainy day. He was not wearing a coat, and he caught a cold, and he died of pneumonia within a month of becoming president.
The cycle continued. 1860, Abraham Lincoln, elected, assassinated. 1880, James Garfield, elected, assassinated. 1900, William McKinley, elected, assassinated. 1920, Warren G. Harding, elected, died suddenly of a heart attack in 1923. 1940, Franklin D. Roosevelt, elected for a 3rd term, died in office in 1945 of a brain hemorrhage. 1960, JFK, elected, assassinated. The pattern seems to hold up until 1980 and the election of Ronald Reagan. The U.S. president was fired on by John W. Hinckley outside Washington's Hilton Hotel in 1981. 6 bullets were fired, and 4 people, including Reagan, were hit. Miraculously, they all survived the assassination attempt.
You could say that Reagan was lucky. If Hinckley had used a more powerful weapon, he probably wouldn't have beaten the curse.
But skeptics argue that the curse is no more than a set of tragic coincidences.
People do like to make patterns from strange events. People like explanations because it gives them the sense that they can control the world. And certainly when bad things happen, they like to have a sense that there's an explanation for it.
Unfortunately, it is true that many American presidents have met with sudden and tragic ends. Could the presidential death cycle really be to blame?
On Friday, things will get all hot and soupy. Join in the hunt all over Singapore to find out about all kinds of steamboat and see if you can figure out how in the world this place serves steamboat on paper. Things get brewing on Gourmet Hunt, Friday, 9 p.m. on Art Central.
There she goes again, racing through Thank you.
谢谢。Terima kasih.
Laundry.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you, Singapore, for making Best Denki your preferred electrical and electronic store.